I have been shooting weddings for over 12 years, and since day one, I've been using dual camera setup. Two reasons for that. Like one, I shoot prime lenses. So at all times, I want to have access to wide angle lens and kind of like a telephoto lens. Second reason is kind of obvious. I want to have backup on me at all times. So if my primary camera dies, there is always a secondary camera. In this video, I want to talk about how do I manage the time syncing between the cameras, or if I fail, what do I do? And what do I do if I have a second shooter and I have like two more cameras to manage the files together? So first of all, I personally shoot two identical cameras, Sony A7RV, so I don't have a problem having primary camera and a secondary camera. I know having two identical cameras can be expensive, especially if you are starting out. But for me, this system has been very beneficial. Like I don't have to add another decision-making thing on the wedding day thinking which camera should I use. The only thing I think about is which lens I want to use, because two cameras will give me exactly the same results. I have both of them set up identically, so the settings are obviously the same, the buttons, the dials, and the custom settings. With the current generation of Sony cameras, at least you can easily save the settings from one camera and load them to the second camera. So in order to do that, you go to the yellow menu, setup, reset and save settings, and then you just save the settings. It does save them on the memory card, so then you put that memory card in a second camera and load the settings. The only thing I will change on the second camera is going to be the file naming, because I want to see the different file names for both of the cameras so they're not identical. I do set up my custom file names, which I highly recommend, not going for the generic ones. In order to do that, you go to the red menu, shooting, choose file and file folder settings, and then you have you can use the 3 different characters, and then there's going to be sequence. So I use 1 MA and 2 MA, so 1 magic, 2nd magic. I use the 1 and 2 at the beginning, so I can also easily sort those files in the folders if I want to just take a look how many files I have of each, like when I'm quickly checking stuff. So it can be helpful to have it set up like this. If you want to learn about like how do I manage the lenses and how do I use prime lenses on a wedding day, I uploaded a video last week that you can check out. Also, if you want to benefit from the last moments of like the Black Friday, I'm now running a Cyber Week sales. You can get up to 40% off my digital products. My Flash online course is discounted 40%, and you get a free masterclass full wedding day breakdown if you get the Flash Magic course. Check this out if you're interested in magic, and obviously thank you so much for the support. Okay, and now the last thing I'm gonna set up in the camera is gonna be date and time. When shooting dual cameras, it is crucial to have your cameras synced. And the problem is the cameras go out of the sync within the time span of days. So if I'm gonna sync them for one weekend, the next weekend, they can be already couple seconds off. And the next weekend, those seconds just add up, and they just create a chaos. So if you're shooting dual cameras and you have like a first kiss moment, you shoot one camera, you shoot second camera, and then you go through your files and you have them like completely apart, that's a mess and that's problematic. I'll show you how to fix it, but the easiest way to do it is just to sync them up before. I personally sync my cameras in the morning of the wedding day every time, and in the morning of a shoot, if I'm shooting, let's say off season, and it's been like quite of a time after I last time synced my cameras, but normally I would just do it in the morning before I shoot. In order to change the time of your cameras, you go to the yellow menu again, area, date, time, settings, and then date and time. Luckily, the new Sony cameras, they show hour, minutes, and seconds. So you can just sync the first camera and then manually sync the second camera like automatically to the first one. Like that's quite easy. For the older cameras, you don't see the seconds going. So you kind of need to do that old school MacGyver live action movie setup of like pressing at exactly the same time. That's how I've been doing this for like years before they introduced seconds. Such an easy implementation, right? When I'm shooting with second shooters, this can get slightly more complicated because, you know, there's multiple ways that you can go around that, and sometimes you have time, sometimes you don't have time. So let me break down the options you have to do it. You can do like live action time syncing again, so you can just stand next to your buddy and you can just time sync and press enter in exactly the same time, it might get slightly problematic, like off if you're like dealing with multiple cameras.
Synchronize your watches.
I don't know how to do that.
I don't wear a watch. Time is a construct.
But yeah, definitely a way to do it. I do it quite often. The second option is to ask your shooter like a 1 day prior to sync their camera to the atomic clock. So what I use is the website called time.is. It's synced with atomic clock. So if you sync your camera to this time, he syncs his camera to this time. If it's been done within like, you know, a day before the wedding, it should be fine on the wedding day. And the third option you can do at any time during the wedding day, actually. If you forgot to sync before, if you suddenly realize, you know, in the evening, oh, we didn't sync our cameras, or I didn't sync my cameras, what you can do is you can open a website with a clock. So again, let's say time.is, and you can take a picture of that time on each of your cameras and then sync it in post. You can even do it later, like let's say a day after, or maybe even 2 days after if you realize like fast enough. But I wouldn't do it like a really long time after, because like, again, the time will go really off within the multiple cameras, so it's going to be really hard to sync them. So how to sync that time later on if you have a picture of like, let's say atomic clock, so let's call it a reference picture. You have a reference picture that you can like sync all your cameras to. You can easily do it in Lightroom. So go to Lightroom, go to library mode, switch to the grid view, and use the top filter to select the images from a specific camera. Then select all the photos, find that one reference photo with the clock, click on it while you still have all of the other photos selected. Click on it, go to metadata, edit capture time, and here you just change the corrected time to what it is in that photo. When you apply this, it will change the times on all of the photos selected accordingly. If you don't have a reference photo, you forgot about that, it's been months, you're coming back to your shoot, you have images from 2 cameras, but you see they're like completely shuffled. What you can try to do, and I actually did that a couple times when I forgot to time sync and then, you know, the time has passed. You can try to find the photo that has been taken on both of the cameras, like from kind of the same moment. You know, sometimes it happens like you have a kiss of the ceremony, you grab one camera, you shoot, you grab second camera, you shoot. So you can kind of find the same moment. Maybe there's going to be a second or 2 seconds between these moments, and then you can use this moment as a reference. So let's say on camera 1, this moment was shot at 1 p.m. On camera 2, it was 2 p.m. because you shifted by 1 hour for some reason on a second camera. Maybe you didn't do like daylight savings and something like that. You can select the photos from the second camera, again, edit metadata, edit capture time, and just shift everything by 1 hour, or just put 1 p.m. exactly, and it will do 1 p.m. for that kiss shot, and then all of the other photos are going to have changed time accordingly. I hope that was helpful. That's kind of a practical thing that you always have to remember about. Like, I wish the cameras would sync automatically, but they don't. They will have to be connected to the internet constantly. Make sure to watch the video about how I use my prime lenses, and I see you guys very soon. Ciao, ciao.